In conversation with Osvaldo C Amador, having painted since childhood, his painting career officially took off in 2006 when he began exhibiting in local galleries in his hometown and New York City. In 2010, he held his first one-man exhibit restoration under the auspice of Miami Dade College and the city of Miami, which Artzine Magazine called one of the best productions in ages. Went on to do what he called the Mount Everest of his painting career with a solo exhibit called Credo in 2012. The exhibit was held at La Merced, Corpus Cristi Catholic Church, Midtown Miami. His art is showcased in collections alongside legend in the Cuban art world and internationally renowned artists of historical acclaim. In 2023, Osvaldo Calixto Amador debuted his writing career with his memoir To Kill a Cockroach. Colombian writer and researcher Maria Andrade called the memoir a vivid portrait of the life of a Cuban American artist in the Cuban Diaspora. Just Luis Piquero names it a captivating message of hope. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today Osvaldo C Amador. Welcome on the show, Osvaldo.
Thank you. It is really, really good to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's quite lovely to have you on the show today. I love pronouncing your name, Osvaldo C Amador. It's quite amazing to me, and I love the pronunciation, the sound of it. Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's exciting. We are here to talk about your memoir.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a funny story about my name. I grew up in the United States, and as a child, I hated it because no American could ever pronounce my name,
Oh,
including my teachers. So,
uh,
even as a little kid, when you walk into class and they call your name and the teacher's having trouble with it, you're like shrinking and feeling really horrible. But I've learned to love it. I've learned to love it.
absolutely. I actually do love pronouncing it. Osvaldo. It's actually not a common name, yeah. Osvaldo C. Amado. Sounds quite amazing. Thank you so much. So, I wanted to first say that I was taken aback by the depth of emotion contained in your memoir, To Kill a Cockroach. And I would like you to tell us about how the book came about. Why do you decide to write a book about your life story? I should start from there.
Yes. Well, my mother, um, my mother passed away 3.5 years ago,
Mm.
and she was a very strong force in my life. She encouraged me very much in my artwork. She was a very humble woman, second grade education, but a very good woman, very good woman. And she always wanted me to do things that she wasn't able to do because she had to support me.
Mm.
So she encouraged me through my artwork. And right before she died, she said to me, "You should write. You should write your book." And I said, "Mom," I said, painting is one thing because you show part of yourself in a painting, but writing, I call it the nude beach of the soul. Because in writing you really reveal.
Mm.
If you're truly writing, you really reveal so much. So that's basically I decided when she passed away, it helped me to grieve, um, and it helped me to laugh because
Mm.
in writing it, I remembered a lot of the good times as well as the troubled times. So that's
Mm.
how it came about.
Oh, wow. That's such a beautiful introduction into becoming a writer. That sounds to me like a beautiful and lovely introduction into becoming an author. Thank you so much for the short story about your mother passing away. And I love your description of what writing means to you. Thank you so much, really. And now, for the sake of readers who haven't read To Kill a Cockroach yet, and without giving much information away, I'd like you to give us a sneak peek into what you would expect in terms of themes and subject lines picking up To Kill a Cockroach.
I believe, and the first sentence in the
Mm.
book is, and I hope I'm remembering it correctly, but it says a universal story should be introduced as such.
mm,
And what I mean about a universal story is that it does not matter where we come from, what we look like,
mm,
what our economic status is.
mm,
We've all had a battle, right? We've all had some form of battle. Nobody comes into this world and free and clear without any battles, right?
mm,
And so, to me, although the book is about the perspective of how I overcame my struggles of prejudice in my life, I
mm,
think it's a book that encompasses all struggles. And what helped me in my life was art. I didn't know how to paint as a child. Nobody taught me how to paint, but I loved colors and I would paint all day long. Horrible paintings, right? But for me as a child, they were great, right? And that little kid knew something that I didn't know because
mm,
that little kid knew that he wanted to paint way back before I even knew who I was. I'm
mm,
talking about little me, right?
mm,
And so the book basically is about finding joy and hope amidst the turmoil and the chaos that at least I had in my life. And I believe that I'm not alone. And there are ways that we can overcome without, and this is important, and I say it in my book, without becoming the perpetrator of hate,
mm.
because it's easy to move through life and hate. That's the easiest thing to do.
Mm.
But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to live my life in hatred. So that's basically, I don't know if that sums it up, but
Yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful answer you've got in there. Your response to that concerning your childhood adventure with painting got remembering many years ago too, when I was very young. I would gather children together in my environment and I would begin to teach them. And I remember sometimes too, I would pull back books together, attach a broomstick, and write stories in it. I never knew what I was doing. I never knew what it even called back then. But as time goes on, I stopped that habit of writing. Thought that after going to secondary school, I went to sciences, and now I've restricted back. And look at myself currently as a writer. I begin to think I think I actually started this thing when I was very young. I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing it without no idea of what I was doing. And I think it's a very lovely thing that we should pay a crucial attention to what we tend to do while we are young, because it speaks volume of what the future entails or is waiting for. I love your description of your childhood adventure with painting, childhood experience with painting, and even how you had no idea what you're doing. But that was great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
and I love your story too. And if I may just say that that child is still in you.
Mm,
Okay, that is, I've done in my lifetime, I've done a lot of therapy, and there's a type of therapy that's called inner child work. Inner child work basically, I'm not a psychologist, but
yeah.
speaks about that when we're children,
Mm,
we are more authentic than we can ever be.
mm,
So when we lose that authenticity because we become older
mm.
and society tells us you should go to college, you should do this, you
Yeah,
should make money, you should get married, blah blah blah.
absolutely.
We start losing that inner child.
Mm,
And in losing that inner child, we lose ourselves. We lose our biggest essence. So
mm.
I would take this opportunity to encourage a brother and tell you, don't, that's not gone. It's still in you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was quite great. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you a much interesting question. Why did you use the storyline of To Kill a Mockingbird. Also, how did you came up with the title name for your memoir as To Kill a Cockroach, which I think it's a bit similar To Kill a Mockingbird, with Mockingbird leaving the statement now and Cockroach coming to replace it. I love your discussion on that. How you use a storyline in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, so To Kill a Mockingbird is one of my favorite books, and it is the title means that you cannot kill a mockingbird because a mockingbird, or you shouldn't kill a mockingbird
Mm,
because a mockingbird is innocent
mm,
and it just sings, right?
yeah.
Um, so that book is based. It's fictional, but it's semi autobiographical
Mm,
about a town in Macomb, Alabama, here in the United States, about prejudice and racism. And so the mockingbird, the symbol of the mockingbird is a black man who is he is he's killed actually in the story.
mm,
He's killed for raping a white woman. The thing
mm,
is, he never did rape that white woman, right? He was innocent, but because of prejudice and racism at that time, he was the easiest target. So it came to me that in my life, I was such an easy target for prejudice and racism growing up. I was raised poor. I was raised in a country that's not mine.
oh,
I was a very sensitive child. So I don't know at what point, I do know because I do say it in the book, but I was a very sensitive child and kids picked up on that and bullied me, right?
mm,
So I felt like a roach, like something despicable, something that nobody likes. No matter where my foot landed, nobody liked.
wow,
And so in the Cuban diaspora, I'm Cuban, Cuban American. I'm going to say Cuban, not American. I'm
yeah,
Cuban. Um, it's a very homophobic community.
mm,
So I often heard that to have a child that is gay is better to have him dead,
wow,
and that to kill a gay man is equivalent to killing a roach. So
wow,
somehow in my mind, in my inner child's mind, I remembered To Kill a Mockingbird, and I said, well, my story is not very different than because it's intricate, right? It goes into a lot of details, which we don't have time, nor will I go into it here. But so I decided that I would use that. And the one reason that I raise with the cockroach is this: I don't like roaches. I'll tell you that right now. I don't like them. I don't know why, but I don't like them, right? But in my book, I talk a lot about having the conscience of knowing when I'm going to kill a roach.
mm,
Because, and I get into a lot of spiritual aspects of that, because anytime we kill all the time, we kill as we're walking, we kill microbes under our sole of our feet, we drink water and there's microbes and we kill all the time without knowing.
yeah,
But I think that what makes human beings different than other animals, because we are animals,
mm,
is that we have a conscience. So if we exercise that conscience, that you don't even have to believe in a God or in a religion.
yeah,
But if you exercise your conscience, you can always do the right thing.
yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if that made any sense, but that's,
Yes.
yeah. So I write about the painstaking ordeals that I went through in trying to kill a roach.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Are you familiar with Hinduism by any chance?
I've heard about Hinduism. I know a bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Hinduism, there's a saying, and I'm probably not saying it exactly, but there's a saying that says, "Spirit cannot be killed."
Mm.
So I can kill your body,
But you
right?
can't kill
But
the
I
spirit.
cannot kill the essence, your spirit,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So that was one of the reconciliation of me killing a roach. I said, okay, and then I decided if I'm going to kill a roach, I'm going to do it really, really fast, so
Mm.
that that roach doesn't feel any pain. I am
Oh,
going to do to that roach exactly how I would like to be treated.
wow. Interesting. Oh, wow. Thank you for your lovely description of this. I enjoy you talking about it. Thank you so much. And also, Osvaldo, I remember you mentioned the Cuban Revolution, finding identity, exile, and the devastation wrought by the AIDS epidemic as some of the subject lines in your book. And I would like to ask you, how are these themes incorporated in your book, and how did it influence the storyline of the novel?
So the Cuban Revolution affected my whole family. Because of the Cuban Revolution, I was raised without a father,
Wow,
and my mother had to move to the States, and she had to raise us with little or no money and no education
wow,
and no family, no resources. She was just a vagabond, right? So that's why she's my hero, right? Because
wow.
she did everything she could for us. Um, it was not something that I experienced firsthand. I didn't experience, but I experienced it as a secondary effect by growing without a father and the atrocities that my mom had to deal with because of it. Um, it's very difficult. Uh, the immigrant story, and I bet to say that there's more similarity than not. The immigrant story is always full of sadness,
Yeah, absolutely.
pain,
Right.
separation.
Mm,
Um, and I never met anybody of my mother's family, nobody. So I feel like I don't have a history because the only history that I know is from my mother telling me the
mm,
stories of my uncles and my aunts. So undoubtedly, the immigrant aspect of the book, it's a very sad one, but it's not new, but seen from my perspective. Um, and also in the and now I'm going to move on from the immigrant story, if you don't mind,
mm,
about like the AIDS epidemics, right? And here again is a horrendous story that is ignored by those in power
mm,
because the population that is being affected is not considered important.
mm,
So I bet to say that if AIDS would have started out in a middle to upper class society, affecting their kids, there would have been a cure to AIDS really, really quick. But
mm,
because it started affected the communities that were disenfranchised, nothing was done for years and decades. So I lost 23 friends, young friends, some of who died in my arms. And, but this all may sound very sad, and it is. It is very sad. But I don't want to come across as the book is this totally sad book
mm.
because within that, there are stories of joy and of the human power to transcend. I mean, listen, if you
Yes.
read Nelson Mandela's book, right,
Mm,
his autobiography,
yeah.
and how he speaks that he overcame his struggles.
Mm,
Yes, the story is atrocious and it's a sad one, but then that's how we learn, right? And those of us who come into this world to empower others have a responsibility to tell our story. No story is small enough
Mm.
not to tell. All stories are big because you never know who you're going to touch with one word or one plot.
That's a beautiful answer you've got in there, quite deep. I had to, digest it and take it in. One you would even have to drink a cup of water on. And I love the fact that you said, no story, it's small enough to tell. Every story, no matter how little it sounds, makes a difference. And that story, your description about that, it's quite very emotional, very deep. I mean, from reading the description page of the book on Amazon, you can easily tell that it's going to be an amazing read. Yeah, even from the reviews so far, it's been such an amazing one. And I really appreciate the fact that you've come on the show today to talk about it. Thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you for having me. My
Yeah.
pleasure. And it's really good to be able to, the technology, to be talking to somebody across the world, and I
Learning
know
more
you've
about
made
the
an
ocean.
and I know you've made an impact with me. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. I'd also like to ask you, what is the main message of the book? I know we've talked a bit about this, but then I still like to ask you, what is the main message of the book? And is it a universal sort of story?
Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. I've been poor and I've had money. I've had money and I've had lots of money and I've been poor. None of that has given me the fulfillment than following my bliss. And my bliss is to paint and to write. That is, don't let anyone ever tell you that, I don't expect this book to go anywhere. You don't, when you're following your bliss, I believe, this is my humble opinion, a
Mm,
true artist is not about commercialism, right? Because right now, my book is not commercial, you know, but I feel a great sense of joy, pride, and fulfillment
mm.
seeing that I wrote this with my heart.
Wow.
And there's no money in the world that can buy you that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So follow your bliss, follow your dream, listen to that inner child.
Yeah.
Don't let him die. He's in there.
Don't let him die.
You know.
Don't let him die. Follow your bliss. That's a beautiful advice you've got in there. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And now, Osvaldo, considering your subject lines, I would like to ask you about what has been the feedback and reception of the book from readers so far. Has the book been received so far? Any responses?
Yes, I've been very surprised. First, I'm an independent published
Okay.
person.
Mhm.
I just went out there and did it on my own and put it out there. And when I first put the book out there, it was really funny because I would get no reviews. And I was like, oh, this is so sad. Nobody's leaving a review. And then one day I wake up and I see this review and I read it. And it was so profound to read this one review of this one person that said, it touched me, it moved me. I laughed, I cried, I couldn't put it down.
Mm,
That just blew me away, And it doesn't have to be the New York Times and it doesn't have to be, Forbes magazine. It's just that one person.
Cactus.
So then little by little, I started getting another review and another review. And every other review that I got, I read it and it was so sincere
Mhm.
that I felt okay, you know, okay, this is my bliss, and this is what my higher power wanted me to do, and now I'm
Mm.
receiving the fruits. And I don't know, I don't know where it's going to go, if it's going to go anywhere, but it's done. So
Wow.
it's Kirkus Reviews, which is a very established, old since the 1900s
Yeah.
reviewer, gave it a very good review. It said, I'm going to remember the words that it said. It said I was fearless in my emotions,
Mm.
and that I was funny, and that it was an effective memoir for anybody who has ever struggled with isolation and belonging.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That was beautiful. I mean, it's even amazing and quite obvious from the trunkload of reviews that has got so far on Amazon when I read through it. It was very great. Thank you. Now, apart from To Kill a Cockroach, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
Um, I am. I am working on a couple of books, and I'm
Wow.
still painting. So, but that's my meditation, right? So I write. There is something that I've learned with following my bliss personally, that I do have to have discipline. No bliss can come through without discipline, right? Um, First, courage, because I think we have to understand, those of us that are creators
Yeah.
have to have the courage to create regardless. Because when we create, we don't know what people are going to say, right?
Mm.
They might say poo poo to this. So, courage, discipline, determination,
Mm.
and then just go with your bliss, go with your heart, and just do it. So, I am working. I am working on two books right now. And I'm doing lots of paintings these days, which is amazing. It has been now 3.5 years since my mom passed away, so the grieving is
Wow.
past. And the book was a really good catharsis to helping me
Mm.
move through the grief of my mom's passing.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That sounds to me to be quite heavy. Thank you so much for sharing.
I've enjoyed myself very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up for today, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know? Also, are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing this book and also ever since it got published?
Many challenges. Many challenges. And that's when you know you're following your bliss,
Mm.
because you don't let the challenges stop you.
Oh,
The, the challenges were, every day I would sit down, and I was disciplined. I said, I'm going to write for 3 to 4 hours, regardless.
okay.
The challenges were, some days, the emotions, because when you're writing about your life,
Mm.
that's something a little different.
Mm.
Um, the emotions were challenging. Some days I just didn't. I said, "Why am I doing this?" I mean, we've all had that moment, like, "Why am I doing this? I'm just gonna throw this in the garbage. I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
So, that was one of the challenges. The other challenge that I received big time was, trying to get the book, actually the physical, manifestation of the book,
Mm.
the actual book, and the technological aspects. Because, one thing is to be an artist, and the other thing is to be an advertiser for your work. You have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
especially when you're doing it on your own,
Yeah.
right? So it was, that part has been the worst.
Yeah.
Um, you have people that want to take advantage of you, and they promise you the world, and all they want is money, and you know. So there were, yes. Listen, nothing I've learned in my life, nothing worth doing is going to come challenge free.
Mm.
It's just not, you know. So those were the main challenges. But The important thing about that is that no challenge was enough to stop me. And that's when you know you're
Wow.
on the right track.
I love that statement.
Yes.
No challenge was enough to stop me. That's a beautiful statement. It's quite powerful. Something for someone to leverage on, to keep in the head, and that will keep pushing you forward as a motivating factor. Thank you so much. That was quite beautiful and quite deep. Yeah.
No, don't let it. And also something, if I may, I'm just going to add this.
Yeah.
For me, the artist journey can sometimes feel a lonesome journey because you cannot always show your work, especially when you're in the midst of doing it.
Mm,
Because some drafts, when we're talking about writing, some drafts are no good.
yeah.
And if you show that to somebody, they're going to say, oh, this is. So this is a lonesome work and you do it for yourself.
Mm,
And when it's done, it's done. And the universe will tell you if when you're finished, if you're on the right track.
mm.
But I don't believe in sharing a lot of paintings or writing when in the process.
Oh,
I
wow.
think it should be between you and your higher power,
Yeah.
whatever you call your higher power, and trust in that higher power.
Mm.
And that's enough. You don't need anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book in your genre? Also, where can interested viewers get a copy of your book?
Okay, well, uh, my book is on Amazon and it's worldwide. So you can go on Amazon and put to Kill a Cockroach, and you should be able to find it. And if you can't, you can email me at to kill a cockroach at gmail.com, and I will definitely find a way of getting you the book. As for writers, okay, so what I learned through my experience,
Yeah,
whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction,
yeah.
let's say you're writing, my book is nonfiction, but let's say you're writing fiction.
Mm,
It has to be true in your head.
mm.
It has to be true.
Has to be.
Because if it's true in your head, then it's true in the paper, then
Mm,
it's believable, then
wow,
people relate to it.
wow.
So don't be afraid of your imagination,
Mm.
you know, let it roam. You're not going crazy when you're talking about spaceships. Let it roam because it has to be true. You can't for me, anyways, I'm just speaking for me. I can't write something that I don't believe in one way or the other.
Absolutely. Basically, you can't even talk about what you don't know? Thank you. Thank you for an amazing advice. And I'm hoping that viewers, even including myself, would love to utilize it. And also, I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Osvaldo C Amador's books directly on Amazon, on his website, and also on other platform. I also left a link to his social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Osvaldo, for accepting the invitation the future in P English literature. I must say it's more than awesome. Quite exciting, very great having this lovely conversation with you around your memoir. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, you're a good soul and it comes through, and it's been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed myself. So thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well.